There are two new lawsuits against the Trump administration from FBI agents tonight. They both stem from this questionnaire, which the Trump administration ordered FBI agents to fill out by yesterday afternoon. The questionnaire asks about any involvement the agents might have had with January 6th investigations or the investigation into Trump hoarding classified documents at his Florida home. The subject line on the email that sent out this questionnaire reportedly had the subject line, quote, termination. A not so implicit suggestion that all personnel who were involved in any of these cases might face termination because of it. Even though there had been a little bit of noise that the Trump-appointed acting officials at the top of the FBI were somehow going to resist this demand to hand over all this information, there was reporting that they were not happy with being asked to do this. Today we learned that the acting officials at the top of the FBI, they did hand over details on thousands of FBI employees who worked on these cases. So one of the two lawsuits that's now been filed is from 9 FBI agents. It argues that the specific purpose of that survey, quote, is to identify agents and other FBI personnel to be terminated as a form of politically motivated retribution. That lawsuit asks a federal judge to stop the Trump administration from compiling effectively a target list, a go-get-em list of FBI agents, which they fear might be made public by the White House. They point to a social media post from the leader of the pro-Trump paramilitary group, the Proud Boys, who was recently pardoned by Trump and released from prison. He's now online urging retaliation against individual FBI agents by name. The second lawsuit is brought by 7 FBI agents and the FBI Agents Association. It also asks the court for protection from the Trump administration's, quote, anticipated retaliatory decision to expose their personal information for opprobrium and potential vigilante action by those who they were investigating. Joining us now is one of the lawyers behind that second lawsuit, Bradley Moss. Mr. Moss, I really appreciate you taking time to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good evening, Rachel.
What kind of relief are you looking for with this lawsuit? What do you want the court to do?
Sure. So at its core, this is a pretty simple, straightforward lawsuit. It's seeking to maintain the privacy and the anonymity of these rank and file FBI officials. These are a number of individuals ranking from, simple tech specialists, forensics examiners, even special agents who did their job. They were tasked with conducting an investigation into possible criminal actions by the former president. They did their investigation, and they turned the information over to the DOJ, which chose to then bring prosecutions. Now they're being potentially retaliated against. Their names are going to be publicly exposed in a way that's not standard for FBI practice and runs afoul not only of arguably constitutional provisions, but also the Privacy Act, which is federal law, and expose that to the public for one purpose and one purpose only, which is to let the Proud Boys, which is to let all these guys and gals who got prosecuted over the January 6th riots, let them know who these officials were and potentially put them in danger. That cannot stand. That's what this lawsuit is seeking to prevent.
We learned today that the FBI did hand over to the Trump administration, to Trump's Justice Department, this list of thousands of employees who were involved in these cases. As you say, not just special agents, but also FBI personnel and analysts at all different levels of the Bureau. We learned that the names, the information about employees was handed over. Specifically, their names were not directly included, although their employee numbers were handed over, which could be matched in government databases to produce their names. I wanted to ask whether that was a disappointing turn of events. Did your clients hope the FBI leadership would somehow stand up more strongly against these requests and actually refuse to hand over this data?
Well, certainly we didn't want them handing over anything, though what I will say for what FBI leadership did was they basically slow-walked this. They're making the Justice Department, they're making the White House do the work to actually match this up, to take these identifiers and match them to names. That's going to take time, and is a question, obviously, of how much time and effort both the Justice Department and the White House want to put into finding and matching up all these individuals. Look, if the existing leadership at FBI had simply outright outright refused, had declined to provide anything, it's arguable they would have been purged, and they would have kept purging people until they found someone, till they found their version of Bork from the 70s to eventually just turn over the information. So what's happened has happened. It's right now. This is still not public information, and we're seeking to make sure it does not become public information.
Attorney Bradley Moss, representing FBI agents in this suit. Thank you very much for helping us understand it, Mr. Moss. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
We'll be right back.